Matt found himself on an airplane recently and also in the middle of a major dilemma where you feel like you made a bad decision.
I would consider it major.
Okay.
I spent last weekend in New York City.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to be invited to go with the Tanger Center to preview some Broadway shows.
Must
So
be
lucky.
nice.
Yeah.
It is.
Lucky.
And I would like to thank Nora for being born, for being able to get the invite instead of Katie.
That's my daughter.
So wait a minute. Your wife didn't go with you.
Nope.
Nice.
I was solo.
So lucky.
Just kidding, just kidding.
No, never
Walking
mind.
around New York sweaty. That's what the ladies wanted.
Yeah.
Well, and you are hairy. We learned recently
right.
that women prefer the hairy
That's
dad
right.
You
bod.
are a sex symbol, Matt. You are a sex symbol.
Basically,
Yeah.
saving that. On the way back from New York, I get on the plane. It's a 2-seat on either side.
Oh, boy.
So a smaller plane. And I'm sitting toward the back, like second to last row. And I sit down, and there's a woman that's sitting. I'm on the aisle, and there's a woman sitting on the inside. And then behind us, she has 2 sons that are, I'm going to guess, 12 and 14. They seemed, early teenagers. They were focused on playing video games on their phone. And
Sure.
she was giving them a hard time. You could tell she was ready to get home and not have to be responsible for these kids going around New York City anymore. And on the back left side of the plane, we were on the right side. On the back left side of the plane, the last row was completely empty. Nobody sat in the last row. And when I sat down first, and then the woman came in, and when she sat down, I could see she was trying to wedge the armrest in between us down.
Oh.
And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I've lost some weight recently. I no longer need the seatbelt extender, so
Matt
that's a
feels
win for
confident.
me.
This is the most confident Matt has ever felt on a plane.
It
He's
is?
like, get out of my way. I don't need 2 seats anymore.
It
Hey,
is.
man, coming through.
Trust me, I used to pre-ask for the seatbelt extender. Now I can rock with what they've got.
Wow.
It took me 78 pounds, but I'm finally there.
Here we are.
Wow.
And so she sits down, and I can tell she's a little uncomfortable, but she's leaning over. I'm leaning as far into the aisle as I can, but that armrest is like kind of wedging in between me and her a little bit, and it's kind of on like her hip. And I'm like, I don't know that this is going to be comfortable. And
Okay.
so I thought about just offering to move to the open seats.
Well, that makes sense if nobody's there.
Right.
Sure.
But then when we were sitting there, she turned around to both her children and said, do one of y'all want to move back there so you can look out one side to see the skyline and the other one can look out the other?
Oh, so she did it before you could. Yeah.
And they were like, nah, maybe like once the flight gets going. So they didn't right away. And so I'm thinking, if they're not going to move, I'm going to move.
Yeah.
Why
So
should
we'll
you be
both
uncomfortable?
be more comfortable.
Yeah.
But she just kept asking, like, are y'all sure you don't want to move over there? And so she was kind of pushing one of them to do it. So I ended up not saying anything and just kind of uncomfortably leaning into the aisle for the whole flight. And she kind of
Oh.
leaned against the wall. And I felt like I didn't want to tell her, like, I know you want your kids to move, but, like, they're both skinny.
Yeah.
And they're kind of playing
young.
the same game against each other. Like,
Yeah.
do you want me to go sit back there? But I also didn't want for her, I was worried that she would think I was uncomfortable sitting next to her, and I didn't want her to feel that way.
Sure. It's
But
a
I-
lot of mind reading.
But I also didn't want to be like, hey, look, I'm an above average size person. Would you rather me move so you're more comfortable?
Yeah, you could
I
have
didn't-
said that.
But I didn't want her to feel like she was put in a position to be like, yes, please move.
But
Yeah,
the
you
way,
are fat,
but the way
Yeah.
you just said that would have came across pretty good because
Yeah.
I get what you're saying and just think of what goes through the minds of somebody on a plane that we don't realize, Squid, that are a little overweight.
Yeah.
yeah, see, you guys don't have any idea. You don't know
This
what
is
it's
all
like.
going through the minds of people on a plane plot probably when they're at, I don't ever,
100%.
ever
Well,
think
when a
that.
fat man walks towards me, then it goes through my mind. He might sit next to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
trust me, I've walked onto a plane before and been walking to find my seat. And if I walk past somebody who's thinner, who has a seat open next to them, the look that they give me of desperation that I don't sit next to them is
Yeah.
And then he
Sheer
hears a little,
terror.
when he walks by, he hears a little, yes.
real. His sighs
Yeah.
of relief, things
But
like that.
you are much lighter, Matt.
Yeah.
I don't.
are.
If I could look at you again.
Yeah.
If you could stand up and give him a
Slim
full
man.
I'm
view.
just trying to
A
picture
little-
Matt
little
walking down the
confident,
aisle.
A little bold.
I don't think it would be horrible.
It wouldn't be,
Right.
no.
Yeah, I would be like, okay, I can deal with it.
Well-
Plus, I'm smaller.
Okay.
It
so
didn't feel as bad this time for sure, but I will say, even still at the size I am, for the entire flight, I am constantly aware of the person next to me.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Really?
Like, am I leaning on them too much? Am I pushing down? Do I need to like lean the other way? It's the entire flight I'm
And it's
aware
Wow,
of
the
it.
anxiety.
It's not just the fact, I mean, you have lost 78 pounds?
78, yeah.
70. dare I say, you look fantastic.
Well,
I know
thank you.
Jason
Wow.
Goodman doesn't like when I say that.
Compared to.
Compared to.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go.
But you're also a man of great size, tall-wise.
Yeah, I'm 6'3".
Height-wise, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know from my husband, he's always aware of where his legs go in
Yeah.
an airplane. Like, are his
yeah.
arms gonna, like, you have the armrest because he just is like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just a
I
very
never-
tall man
Yeah.
for a very small space, you
And,
know?
and when you're that size too, like your legs will start
Oh,
to get sore. So then
Yes.
you
Yeah.
have,
You have to
like
move
I'm
around.
constantly adjusting to try to get comfortable again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm aware of that too. I'm like, when I do adjust, I don't want to like lean over and push into the person next to me or anything like that. So I either like to sit in the aisle so I have a little room on one side to lean out
Mm-hmm.
or against the window
Can't you
where
get
I
an
can just lean on the
emergency
side.
exit, Matt Rowe? That's a
Yeah.
more space there.
Yeah, sometimes I'll if that's
Volunteer?
available, I'll volunteer, or sometimes they'll offer like for a lower rate, like an upgrade.
Yeah, and the,
I'll try to do
also
that.
the other trick is the bulkhead. They call it bulkhead row. It's it's where the wall is that kind of there's no seat in front of you. Like
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is that last seat before first class sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and there's a lot of room there.
Yeah.
You could try that. Yeah,
Next
the
time.
only thing I still worry about my arms, especially if I have the middle seat, which is the worst. Because then you like, I've been in a position where I'm just this like small boy, I feel like, with two adults next to me, and they're both using the armrest on my
That's
side.
not fair.
And
Oh,
I have
yeah,
no
that's-
armrest. I'm
that's
just like
the
this with my
worst.
arms, but they're
Yes.
so big they can't help it. It would like be Matt's arm on there. He can't put it anywhere else.
Jason, I know exactly how you feel. Do you know
Yeah.
one time, years ago, probably 15 years ago, I was in the middle seat on a flight between Jared and our friend Biggie.
Yeah,
And I was
Oh.
stuck in the set. I mean, and they were big.
that's
well,
no picnic.
They were smaller, I think, than they are now, maybe. I don't know.
Still.
But
Yeah.
I was sitting in the middle, and literally my arms and my shoulders were pinned back into the seat because their shoulders were like
And you can't
on
put your
me.
arms.
I couldn't do anything.
Their arms are on the armrest,
Yes, and
right?
my
That's
arms fell
crazy.
asleep, and I couldn't feel them because I'm pinned back
Oh my
Yeah.
the
gosh.
whole time. They
That's
just had to
tough.
play entertainment for me the entire, show
Yeah.
me how to.
Oh, don't lie. You were drinking to get over it.
Yeah.
I didn't use my arms.
Yeah.
They could have given me a straw. That would have been nice.
There was
My
one
wine.
time I was at a football game and my seat was next to Biggie's.
Yeah.
And I was almost more relieved in that situation because both of us just accepted the fact that we're going to be basically sitting in the same seat. It's just going to happen.
Yep.
Let's just, if one of us had to
yeah.
stand up, we both stood up together. If one of us
Yeah.
wanted to sit down, we both sat down at the same time.
Yes.
And we just accepted, like, we're just going to be, we're watching this game as one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Matt, you know what I thought of too? I don't want to digress here, but because you lost 780 pounds, I was thinking you could now feel confident also going on a roller coaster at Dollywood or Carowinds or something like that and not worried about getting the one click.
Oh,
I
yeah.
am very excited the next time I go to a theme park to be able to ride some of these roller coasters again.
Because you said that you
Nice.
said you go on it and they have to push down and finally the harness, they get the one click.
Yeah.
And which is not, and it's a little concerning you have one click, especially if it goes upside down.
Right.
At least you have one,
Yeah.
but I'd rather have three.
Exactly. And I always try the tester seat. See, that's something you probably didn't even know existed.
No, it's outside. I see. I use it for
Some
my daughter to see if she's big enough.
There. So
The opposite for Matt.
so with the tester seat, it's am I too big?
Yeah.
But you sit in it and there's this little light. It's almost like a game. There's a red light and a green light. And when you sit down, the light stays red and you have to try to pull it to a point. And if the light turns green, then you're supposed to be able to get on the ride.
Really?
Well, I did this one time. I was able to get, with like sucking in and not breathing and just like, I was
Yeah.
able to get it green for an instant. And I'm like, okay, it's green. We're good. And I go to get on the ride and they couldn't get it locked again.
Wow.
So they
yeah.
had to radio the control room,
To release
ask
all.
them to release every single person's lap belt so that I could then get up and walk over and be standing there
embarrassing.
as every single
sucks.
person
Push it down
slowly
harder.
went by. And there I am waving the reason you all had to relatch.
Yeah, that's
Matt's
tough.
just
But
like, sorry,
Matt, at the
sorry.
same time, you're talking about really pushing it. If you can't breathe and you're sucking in, my biggest fear, I have a little claustrophobic in me, is getting stuck on the ride. And if you were stuck like that for like an hour,
Oh, yeah.
that would be terrifying.
Yeah, that doesn't cross my mind and didn't, but will now.
Wow.
He's just trying to have some fun. That's all.
Right. You like that touch of danger. That's a little dangerous.
Yeah.
Just a
Oh
little,
my
just a little
God.
touch, a skosh.
Yeah. Yeah, next time you go on that ride, just one click it, Jason. See how you feel.
I'll try.
Absolutely not. He would slip straight through.
I know
Yeah.
it would.
He would.
I need the booster seat.
Right. So Matt, just real quick, I wanted to ask you. So you were with Tanger, and you
Oh
got
my
to go
gosh,
see
yes.
Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge and Six,
Six.
which Katie, you had hyped Six up so much.
I am obsessed with that show. Do you find yourself singing the songs from the
Yes.
show? Yes, it gets stuck in your head.
Oh yeah, aren't they all songs that are recognizable that you or
Moulin Rouge is.
Yeah, Moulin
Moulin
Rouge
Rouge is absolutely. It's all very recognizable, and it's almost like they do. It's almost like a club DJ. They're mashing together.
Cool.
They're doing mashups of two popular, and it's very current.
Yeah.
You've got like some Walk the Moon in there, some Lady Gaga.
I love
It's
when they
not
do
just
that.
classic songs. So that was very entertaining.
But Six is the story about Henry VIII and his ex-wives.
Yes, and
And
his
so-
6 ex-wives.
It's got
Wow.
very like Hamilton-esque in the sense that you're
Yes.
learning history, but in a really fun, current way. Like right now, I never knew anything about Henry VIII other than he had a lot of wives. But now I will never forget the story since
Right,
I saw
right.
Six.
And that's the best part about it is it does feel like Hamilton, which is very enjoyable, very entertaining. But I learned that when they wrote Six, they wrote it initially as almost like just a fun joke kind of thing because they were fascinated by the fact that he had these 6 wives, and it became so popular that they had to take it to. It debuted on Broadway in London in 2018,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just debuted in New York right after COVID. So it's still a fairly new show.
So these two are on Broadway itself.
They're on Broadway itself,
Yeah.
and they'll be part of the new season at the Tanger Center, the Simply
Here.
the Best
So
tour. Yes, so we'll be able to see
I
it here.
hope we can get some tickets.
I know. I hope
Yeah.
so too.
Matt gets to fly out.
And I will say, as far as Six goes, what they did was they gave each wife almost like a mashup of 2 different popular artists' style. So like one wife is a mashup of like Shakira and Beyonce,
Oh, okay.
and then one is a mashup of Sia and Adele.
Well, you know what would be
Whoa.
very
So you
nice.
can feel
That's
that.
pretty cool.
Since Matt has seen these on Broadway once, and he probably will get tickets to see them here in Greensboro, if I could get seats next to Matt, just in case I have any questions like I normally do.
Oh, that's
during-
smart. Yeah.
And if I could get seats away
Yeah.
from Jason, that would be perfect.
I don't
Thank
think
you
I'll
so
have to
much.
explain as much to you during Moulin Rouge.
No, the King
But,
Henry.
but yeah,
Yeah.
the 6, I think you're gonna have a lot of questions.
Oh, so good.
Now, which one was beheaded again?
Oh, they have a whole song.
Oh
They got
yeah,
a
the
whole
very first
that will
song. They tell
explain
you
it.
how
Okay.
each of them died.
Nice.
Coming to the Tanger Center in their
Yeah.
brand new 3rd season on at Tanger Center.
And I'm gonna
Love
tell
it.
you, Jason, I think you're gonna be a big fan of this season of Tanger
Really?
because the 2 shows that I saw in New York, extremely sexy.
Really?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, Moulin Rouge has to do with the strip club or
It's
something.
like a
A lot of
burlesque,
corsets
and I
and-
will say 6. They
Yeah.
dress the very same way. A lot of corset, a lot of skin to win in those shows.
Jason's like VIP
Yeah.
all the way.
And you know,
Front row,
Chicago
please.
Chicago is very
too.
similar, and it's
Yeah.
part of the same thing. So we were
Okay.
joking while we were there. The folks with Tanger are like, "How are you going to make the other shows this sexy? What are you going to do for Aladdin?"
Yeah.
You know, like
I've
some of
seen
these other
Aladdin.
shows.
Aladdin.
I've seen Aladdin.
Yeah.
There's some sex appeal.
All right,
There's
so,
some
so
sex appeal in
I
it.
definitely
I can see
think
it.
this is going to be. They're calling this season Simply the Best. I think it should be Simply the Sexiest.
Well, I mean, every show I've seen at Tanger, I used to live in Rhode Island, so we used to go to see Broadway shows
Yeah.
in New York.
Mhm.
And sometimes there's even a lot of good shows, they call it off Broadway, meaning it's just not on the actual street, but very good.
Yeah.
And when we moved here, it was kind of missing,
Yeah.
right? It was
Yeah.
all these shows were missing. And then all of a sudden, when Tanger got built and they came, there have been incredible shows.
Yeah.
It is a whole new world.
It is basically Broadway shows. I don't even know which one I like the best. I like Mean Girls, but
I don't know how to
what
choose.
was that? What was the last one I thought was the best?
We saw Beetlejuice.
Oh, that
Remember
was
we
my
saw
favorite.
Beetlejuice
That
last
was
year?
my favorite one.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice was
good.
my favorite. Then Mean Girls, which sounds ridiculous.
I think
and I like
the Temptations was really
The
good.
missed that
Temptations.
one.
yeah. Oh yeah, you missed that one.
And I
You
will
love
say
that
this
one.
too, asking so some of the folks that work for Tanger, Jenny and Jessica and Lauren went on this trip. So they've obviously they work for Tanger. They help pick the shows that come to the Tanger Center. So they've seen a lot of Broadway. They say that there are some shows that they've seen on Broadway that when they come to Tanger are even better.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Because there were a
Really?
couple that I was very lucky enough to see in New York and then thinking, oh, well, I've seen it. You know, how's it going to get any? But then you go to Tanger and all of a sudden, different performers and outstanding performances where you think that was way better than I could have imagined.
Yep. And when they come
So
to Tanger,
good.
you're not getting less of a cast.
Nope.
Like when we saw 6 in New York this last time, one of the wives performed here as part of Hamilton.
Sure.
See?
So you're getting the Broadway performers performing here locally, and sometimes the show's even better.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you at the Tanger.
That's right.
Especially Jason, who's going to be front row with all the skin to win.
Yes.
Did I bring my dollar bill?
The one guy with
Don't do that.
binoculars.
Don't do that. Don't ruin it for us all, Jason, please.